that's James's deck dinner. It doesn't look that fancy, not a lot of color there, but I was thinking of James' dad eating cottage cheese and green onions, and so I put we had this big bucket of onions. I fried some up to go with that, and that dip for the carrots is this artichoke and asiago. And there's actually some color in that soup. I guess I could talk about that. Soup, eh? But I'm going to talk about The Big Sleep. What an awesome movie.
Oh yeah, Humphrey Bogart, and who's the woman in that?
Lauren Bacall.
Oh yeah, it is Lauren. Eh?
This is what the bucket of tomatoes look like. And I use the onions, the bucket of onions that James had got. So we'd went to get food from the food truck, and they offered this, the bucket of tomatoes, and I thought, well, James goes through a lot of tomatoes. And I guess, oh, it's wet. Again, I did this 2 days in a row. Not thinking.
This chair is amazing. It doesn't really get that wet.
But anyway, yeah, so he'd said that they'd picked it up from, you can see where they picked it up, A&W. So I guess it looks like it's great. I didn't expect, I had hoped I'd be able to make chili out. But
that would have been ideal.
But as it turns out, the tomatoes, they're the bottoms and the tops of the tomatoes, so there's still the green bits, so I have to go through and actually cut out the green and stuff like that. Yeah, there it is. But I mean, wow, a bucket of tomatoes. So we've used up almost all of it. Well, James has. And now I started in on the onions, and I mean, it was frozen, so it was a frozen block, and it even when I put it in the fridge, it took forever to thaw out. And now it's finally thawed, and so I use the water, the tomato water from that to make the soup base with, I also juiced asparagus stems, you know, the bottom part that you don't eat because they're stringy and they're just woody, not good, but they're great for soup. So if you juice those, you use the tops of the spears to eat, whatever, saute them up or whatever. Sometimes, and then you use the bottom for juicing to make soup. Pauline
reminds me of a German cookbook, the most thorough. Of course, Germans tend to be that way. Not so much Prussians, but German. The most thorough. Anyway, this cookbook, it was like they'd use every scrap of stuff that you bring in, right?
Yeah, no,
you'd make soups and all this kind of stuff.
You got to do that.
Very impressive.
That's the way to live.
It was kind of written on Russian toilet paper, but I mean, it was after World War II, so they were. Yeah, we didn't get the fancy middle part of the tomatoes, but whatever. We got a bucket full of tomatoes and the same size bucket of onions. So awesome. I opened up the bucket of onions, and it's much more usable because it's. I mean, I guess they use only the perfect size onion slices too, right, for their burgers. And so there's the rest of them. Well, they're fine. They're awesome. Well, at least they're recycling this stuff.
Yeah, it's great. So we really lucked out. And I put some different seasoning in the soup and yellow split peas. I cooked some of those. And I don't remember what else I put in there. But anyway, yeah, it's a little more nutritious actually than what I gave him on his plate. And what I gave him on his plate isn't that colorful and stuff like that. But there's quite a bit of protein, and the Napa cabbage must have some nutritional value, and the onions would help fight the cancer and all that sort of stuff. So not so bad. Now I'm going to read my song today. I'm not going to sing this because I don't know if it'll work well as a song, and I just don't feel like singing it, honestly. So this one's called Fusion Foods, and as it turns out, I did not make fusion food for, I should have made some sort of fusion food so that I could sing this song at that time, but I did not.
Oh, this is a nice healthy meal. So.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So this is called Fusion Foods, and I wrote it February 11th, 2024. Most Westerners are big on fusion foods. They mirror Western open attitudes. Most foods don't seem like fusion foods at all. The takeout that Americans all call Chinese is fusion food, or so I've heard. The Mexicans find taco time absurd. Burritos with a side of Mexi fries is fusion food. It should be no surprise that banh mi subs are fusion food as well. Designed in Vietnam so folks could sell a sandwich to the French who occupied their land. Now nearly everyone who's tried a banh mi loves that sub from Vietnam. If food tastes good to us, who gives a darn? What cultures were combined to get that taste? Traditional, exclusivelys, a waste. So that's my home fusion food. I hope you liked it. And I guess I'll talk a bit about the big sleep. And honestly, I did have a bit of a little sleep while this was on, because I have watched the big sleep before. It's so awesome. And this one, I think it's 1945. Anyway, I'm not sure. Anyway, around there. Yep, 1946. So, I happen to really like Bogart.
Big old Humphrey, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the greatest looker, and he ruined whatever little looks he had with smoking, eh?
Yeah.
The big trouble is, Lauren Bacall ruined her phenomenal look.
Yeah.
She was a model before she became, I gathered, before
really
she
beautiful.
became an actor of sorts. Yeah. And, oh man, she ruined her face really quickly. It was a shock, because I remember seeing her in the 60s, and I never realized, where that face came from, or something like that.
Yeah.
But just a poster gal for
not smoking.
Yeah.
So this movie's in black and white, but it's a private eye kind of movie. So it works. It really works in black and white. It doesn't need to be in color. There's no benefit to putting it in color or anything like that. It's great just as it is. And there's a mystery involved here. He's trying to solve, and you're trying to solve it. You're really engaged. While this movie is on, you're like, okay, well, what's going on, right? You're trying to figure it out just as he's trying to figure it out. And it works. It works so well. This movie is timeless. People who enjoyed it in 1946, people will enjoy it now. People will enjoy it in 2046 and beyond, if it sticks around, because this movie works. So that's all I really had to say. I don't want to give anything away because it's worth watching again and again. So you can go ahead and talk if you want. Did you feel like it?
No, I was listening a bit to the CBC today. Oh, yeah. I was thinking it was a weekend, but it's Monday. Anyway, I was listening to their phone-in program at noon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's still with Judy Aldous. I kind of took her to task when she put in a personal appearance in Lethbridge a while back.
Oh, did you?
Well, she was striding around without a mask. This was quite a while back.
Oh, yeah, when everybody was wearing them. Well, except for the maskless rodeo kind of people or whatever.
Yeah, so she came strutting in here. It was like a super spreader event. And she sent it out of Calgary. Fun times. But I almost developed a smidgen of respect for her, though not for her guest. So he's going along saying, 20% of the population, presumably North America, not just Canada, are like some sort of, when it comes to media, some sort of alternate reality. So he was mentioning plague deniers. I don't want to mention the term. Okay. And stuff like that. And she said, well, surely there's a similar thing on the left-wing side of the spectrum. And that was a shock coming from someone on the CBC.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just a right-wing phenomenon. I'm going, oh, this guy's clueless. He's involved in it.
Yeah, well,
because
honestly,
he's denying the reality
Yeah.
You see how he's involved in it?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, stunning.
Well,
I would have, if I'd been Judy Aldous, I would have pulled the plug on him. But before I did, I would have said, "Hey, you're part of the problem, you stupid twit."
Well, honestly, when the whole, like you remember, I remember we were quarantining. Basically, we were in house arrest sort of thing, you know, like although we weren't criminals or anything like that, but we'd go out to hike alone and. You know, nobody was around, and we'd come back here and I'd write poetry and whatever, and everybody was supposed to be
kind of in lockdown.
Yeah, like in their homes, and then all of a sudden we heard demonstration cries and stuff because I live near downtown, and I'm like, what's that about, right? And then we heard on the news about the Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, and honestly,
we drove by one demonstration. There were half the people didn't have masks. Well, it would have been me, and they were all crammed together in one place.
So honestly, the way I felt about that is like, who managed to get these people together to get out and break quarantine? Like, it was just an excuse for people to go out and
show how ignorant they are.
Yeah, and. So honestly,
that was, I understand it was George Floyd.
Well, that happened, that was right away. So
that
was
2020.
So honestly, people can talk about the maskless rodeo and stuff like that, but that's nothing compared to what the Black Lives Matter crowds were spreading around, honestly. So you can say, most people would say that the Black Lives Matter thing would have been a left-wing movement, right?
They're not real left-wingers, but they claim to be.
Yeah. So there's a good example for you, and that came out before the maskless rodeo. That happened before.
I think it was a year before.
Yeah. So.
No, they had a little anniversary for that. I presume you're talking about that stupid convoy that went down to the border.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about the maskless rodeo. That was big news.
Oh, I remember that.
But
boy,
the convoy, whatever.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people.
Similar thing.
I don't know how close people were together when they were out in arms about that. Well, not in actual arms. I don't think. Well,
what,
there
the
was
convoy?
some. Yeah,
there were arms down there. Those guys should be.
There were.
They should be in jail for terrorism. Yeah.
Anyway.
At least plotting.
Yeah, well, there's always a few bad apples with every sort of movement. But honestly, in 2020, when people were out protesting in groups, honestly, shame on you. If you were out there, shame on you.
You should have been in a hazmat suit to be able to do that. Jeez. Shameful.
Do you have anything else to talk about?
No, I'm just going to say the right and the left wing are absolutely useless. I'm not that thrilled about the center. But Trudeau is just an idiot. But there we go.